Hi, hello, good morning, or good afternoon or evening, depending on where you're calling in from. My name is Mimi Hicklin, and I'm the program coordinator for the Charter for Compassion, and I'm so happy to be here with you all today. As many of you know, the Charter holds these compassionate community webinars monthly, featuring the work of our communities across the globe. And it's something that I really find myself looking forward to each month, because through this series, it feels like we have formed a community of communities. Obviously, no two communities are identical, and the challenges and successes of each are unique. But in these sessions, we are able to share what's working, where we're coming across stumbling blocks, and offer support. So thank you all for being a part of that. Today, we get the immense pleasure of hearing from Compassionate Las Vegas. Compassionate Las Vegas hosts and inspires a network of compassionate businesses, government institutions, groups, and individuals so that their community may be a more compassionate place to live, work, and play. Before kicking off, I do want to take care of some quick housekeeping items. This webinar is being recorded, so if you're watching it live, you will get a link to that recording in your email soon. And if you're getting the email, then you'll be watching it in a second. I will have the chat and the Q&A boxes open. So if you have any questions along the way, feel free to put them there. And then we have allotted some time after the presentation to answer those questions. So you can just hover over. For me, it's the bottom of my Zoom screen, but it might be the top depending on your platform. And there's a little chat icon and a Q&A, and we'll be checking both of those throughout the program. I think that's it. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to you, Las Vegas.
Mimi, you are a treasure. I appreciate you so much. What you've done for the Charter has been nothing short of phenomenal. And so thank you. And thanks to Marilyn and Susan and all the volunteers, all the team members who have made the Charter work. So thank you. Well, we're honored to be here today. And my name is Jamison. And it was about 20 years ago that a friend of mine who I adopted as my sister, Julie Murray, she runs something called the Moonridge Foundation, and I were having what we call a whispering conversation. Because we had just received news from a report about our community, that we were a community that was very dynamic, good attitude, but very siloed. And maybe some of you who are listening have a similar experience. And so we began to talk, and we engaged the work of the Harwood Institute out of Washington, D.C. through friends of ours, Pam and Pierre Midyar, who started eBay. And they came in, they took a look, and they gave us a program. And they said, it'll only cost you $1 million a year. And Julie and I, again, we went back to whispering. We said, we think we can do this for a lot less. And we, in fact, have done that. And I have an amazing team here on the screen with me, Krista and Will and Polly and Taliba. And Julie is doing wonderful work up in Reno today, so she's not able to be with us, but she is with us. And so out of that whispering conversation, we began our plan. We began to move forward. And today we have over 200 nonprofit leaders who are part of this fellowship, part of Compassionate Las Vegas. We are stretching our wings, and we are beginning to impact, as you will hear in a moment, a number of different areas within our community, because as we all know, compassion is not compassion unless it moves through our hearts, into our hands, into our communities. And I want to say that is happening here in Las Vegas and Southern Nevada, and we're really pleased to see it unfolding. It is a bit of an experiment, and like any experiment, we are just blocking and tackling as we move forward, doing the best we can to express this quality of compassion. We've been adopted by the City Council of Las Vegas as a compassionate city. The mayor immediately said, of course, we're going to do this. And the City Council unanimously approved it, and they've been supportive. We have compassion awards every year. And so really exciting things happening here, which you're going to hear more about from team members who are absolutely stellar. I'm so proud of each of them and so grateful to each of them. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to our incredible, I call her orchestra leader. She doesn't like it, but she's amazing. She makes the music happen. Krista Darnall.
Thank you so much, Gard. And, you know, our founder, Gard, as he mentioned over 20 years ago, bringing compassion to our community, and he does it with such authenticity, leads with compassion and building trust. And we can't thank him enough for bringing us here today and sharing that compassion in our community. We do have a small and mighty team, as you see on our screen today. Each of us, we wear many hats within our community as well as within our team for Compassionate Las Vegas. And each of us will share a little bit about how we play a part in our team. I am blessed to be with each of you, and you all have such great hearts, and it's just a pleasure to be here with Mimi, the Charter for Compassion, and our team. A little bit later, we'll share more about our key initiatives, our framework, our funding, and our Q&A segment. And following our team introductions, we'll have a video that highlights the extraordinary introductions and around our community's compassionate work, led by our podcast host, Will Rucker, in his many roles with our team. And a little bit more about our Compassionate Las Vegas. We aim to make Las Vegas a compassionate place to live, work, play by promoting compassionate practices in our community from a grassroots to grass tops. And as Gard touched on, our mayor, Carolyn Goodman, affirmed the charter on behalf of the city of Las Vegas back in 2013. And our Las Vegas City Council unanimously approved a resolution embracing compassion as a key value for the city earlier this year, and that will be highlighted in the video shortly. In next year, 2022, our Jamison Fellowship Program will move into its 10th year. We're excited to be celebrating the growth of the program. It is a program of Compassionate Las Vegas that fosters collaboration amongst the various social sectors to influence compassion, unity, and enhance leadership skills to construct impactful change. Often our organizations and our communities, as I'm sure you see in yours, operate in silos and are rarely have time to connect with one another. And we create that space for a culture of cohesion and trust amongst those community leaders to develop further. It's a 12-month program where the fellowship provides comprehensive leadership training based on a series of professional assessments, emphasizing interpersonal skills, talents, and strengths, along with core values. Throughout the year, we have specialized workshops and numerous continuing development opportunities, including professional coaching by Will Rucker, creating a platform designed to support the motivating and inspiring network of leaders while also encouraging them to build circles of trust that cultivate self-awareness, self-compassion, and cohesion. Now, I'd like to introduce Will Rucker, who is one of the many visionaries of our future here in Las Vegas.
Thanks so much, Krista, and hello to everyone tuning in, whether live or in our replay. It is truly an honor to be a part of this amazing, critical, vital, essential movement, which is the Charter for Compassion. To the Charter team, thank you for the opportunity just to share a little bit about what's happening in my favorite city, Las Vegas, and to have the opportunity just to connect. My role really is to vision and to envision and to imagine and to inspirit, all of those great words, right? My role is really a privilege to occupy because I get to play. As Gard often says, we get to build this plane as we're flying it. I love that. I've got the duct tape and everything pulled out. So it's a lot of fun. And you'll see in our video, the amazing leaders we have that have partnered with us, because collaboration is the key to creating this movement and making it go forward. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Polly our amazing social media graphics and marketing person.
And let me say, introduction to Polly. She was right there at the beginning. And Polly, you are a superstar, and your family can be nothing but proud of you. Thank you, Polly.
Thanks, Gard. Thanks, Will. Yeah, I would love to share a little bit about what that was like kind of at the beginning. I had the pleasure of being a Jamison Fellow. I was sort of a wild card in that group. Jamison Fellowship, Gard, for, as he's speaking about, for nearly 20 years, has been bringing together nonprofit leaders and helping to break down these silos. And because of small works I was doing in the community, I was able to join that group, and it was really pivotal and life-changing. And Gard came to me and said, you know, I want you to be part of something. There's something I have coming up. There's this plane I want to build plane. I can't build a plane. Gard's like, don't worry, we'll build it as we fly it. So we've been doing that for about 2.5, 3 years now, working to build Compassionate Las Vegas into a formal organization. And I've had the pleasure and the honor of playing many roles, being part of the branding, building the logo, building the podcast logo, building the website, working on social media, you know, creating sort of initial direction for Compassionate Las Vegas as we first started it. I'm a native Las Vegan, and you know, thanks to Gard's influence, went from a creative artistic job, and I'm now a marriage and family therapy candidate at UNLV. And so being a part of this has really changed the direction of my life. You know, he calls on this community of nonprofit leaders to come together. We have representatives from everything from United Way to I mean, every nonprofit in our community, I would say, is represented in the 200 Jamison Fellows. And so they are the backbone of compassion in our community, and we are able to support them, lift them up, promote the good works that they're doing through Compassionate Las Vegas. As I mentioned, I play a lot of different roles, handling branding, you know, helping to make Compassionate Las Vegas a recognizable brand in the community, promoting some of the messages of the Charter for Compassion, helping people to understand that compassion isn't just like this mushy value that we're just kind of like getting together and talking about, but instead that it's something that we put into action. And all of the nonprofit leaders, they're already putting this into action, right? And so we're just helping to promote and share the compassion and action that already goes on in our community, breaking down those silos, building that network. And we do this through going out into the community. You know, we have all kinds of marketing materials, social media. One win that I really want to share, and I was sort of adding up the numbers this morning, it was so exciting. As a community, we participated in the Born This Way Foundation's Be Kind 21 campaign, and we tapped leaders throughout the Jamison Fellowship and Compassionate Las Vegas to share their kindnesses that they were participating in during this marketing campaign that Lady Gaga and the Born This Way Foundation does. And Taliba created a post, a kindness post, where she put together these care kits to hand out to people who are experiencing houselessness, homelessness in our community. And it was retweeted by Lady Gaga, who has 83 million followers. And our tweet directly received 880 likes, 96 retweets, and overall 37,000 impressions on Twitter. And which is, you know, to be spreading compassion throughout the social media universe, to be able to partner, be a part of Born This Way Foundation's initiative, and really get that message out about kindness and why it matters. And I feel like we've just really seen that message rise in the last few years as we've been working on this initiative. So it's been a a great honor and a great pleasure to be a part of this team and to help Compassionate Las Vegas grow. And when I first read the Charter for Compassion, I knew that this was something I wanted to be a part of because it's such an important message. And it's really changed my direction in my life. And I know so many others too. So it's really wonderful to be here with everyone this morning. And thank you so much for having us. And next, Taliba is going to tell us a little bit about her role. And she is the newest member of our team, but she is mighty. So Taliba, please share.
Thank you, Polly. My name is Taliba Abdul-Wahid, and as the newest member of the team, of this amazing team, I'm excited that I get to work with communication and engaging our fellows, so our current cohort, as well as our alumni. So the Jamison Fellowship has been around for nearly a decade, and during the pandemic, we noticed that there was a chance to have increased engagement. So two of the things that we did, first, we started a compassionate cafe. So every month, and before we started returning to the office, it was every week we got to get together on a minute Zoom call, just check in with everyone, tell about different works doing or different self-compassion that everyone was doing. And it was just such a great response from our fellows, from our alumni, that we've decided to make it a part of Compassion Vegas and the Jamison Fellowship. Another we do is we do a weekly messages every month. So every Monday we get to see all of the work that's being done in Compassionate Las Vegas, as well as the Charter for Compassion. So we're able to make to just highlight different compassionate individuals, different compassionate works that are being done in Las Vegas, global scale. And now here's Compassion in Action in Las Vegas.
Into agenda item 33, R27-2021, discussion for possible action regarding a resolution to embrace compassion as a key value for the city of Las Vegas.
In 2015, the City Council issued a proclamation establishing the day as the Charter of Compassion Day. This resolution formalized the commitment to being a compassionate city in concurrence with the Charter for Compassion. In 2016, the city was recognized as a Compassionate Las Vegas, a participant in the Charter for Compassion movement. Again, in 2016, the City of Las Vegas's Mayor's Faith Initiative partnered with philanthropist and Reverend Dr. Gard Jamison under the Compassionate Las Vegas umbrella to create the Compassionate Cities Awards as a way to recognize those members of the community whose hearts and service shape our community. To date, the Compassionate City Awards has honored 24 local humanitarians for their acts of kindness and compassion. With that, we come today asking for an action item to approve a resolution and authorize the mayor to sign the resolution to embrace compassion as a key value for the city of Las Vegas.
It was 20 years ago that Pam and Pierre Midyar, the founders of eBay, did an assessment here in the community. And they discovered that we have a will to do the right thing, but that we're fragmented as a community. It was 10 years ago that my sister, Julie Murray, and where's my wife? And this dear lady, we had a whispering conversation. We like whispering conversations. And we talked about how we might imagine Southern Nevada as a more compassionate community.
And with that, I'm going to ask Mayor Pro Tem, would you make a motion on R27-2021 for the resolution to embrace compassion as a key value for the city of Las Vegas, please?
I will make that motion. Thank you.
Aye.
I didn't even get to call on Councilman
Oh,
Greer.
sorry.
No. I love it. Enthusiasm and spontaneity. Way to go. Thank you. Thank you for humanity in our community. Thank you so much. Thank you all. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dr. Annie Weissman.
I am Kathy Thomas.
I am Dr. Tiffany Tyler Garner.
I'm Dr. Tammy Malage.
I am Pastor Troy Martinez.
I'm Sierra Bellavance.
I am Mauricia Baca.
I'm Krista Darnold.
I am Guard Jamison.
I am Compassionate Las Vegas.
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 And together,
Together,
we are growing.
We are learning.
We are healing.
We are thriving.
We're having a conversation around Compassionate Las Vegas and what is happening in our city and for our city. What I'm so excited about is throughout these conversations, we're really seeing a theme, a thread that is tying every aspect of our city together. And that thread truly is compassion. So, Pastor Martinez, could you share a little bit about how you are working with our police department and spreading compassion that way?
absolutely. Here in Las Vegas, we've for many years worked very closely with the community and our police agency, the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. We came to them with requests that they would listen to the community, that they would help us make changes that the community felt were needed. And we asked them to truly, reach across the table and be willing to accept some of the critique or productive criticism, if you will, coming from the community side. And since then, we've been able to put in police policy whenever there's someone shot or killed or something violent, shocking to the conscience of the community. It's now in police policy that they call out the faith-based community and nonprofits to serve and reduce violent crime and reduce murders. Additionally, one of the things that was happening is the police department was targeting Black and brown communities, young boys mainly, at the school bus stop and other places where they hung out, and documenting them as gang members unilaterally. So we were able to bring change, and that policy was altered to now they have to notify the parent or guardian, and they have to purge that document that used to follow a young Black man or brown man for the rest of their life. Now they have to purge it after 5 years. And additionally, it was able to not just go into police policy, but become state law.
I just want to shout out to my brother, Troy, who is a hero, who goes out at 2 a.m. and stops retaliatory violence in these crimes. And so, Troy, thank you. And thank you to you, my brother, Will. So it was December 2019 that we were having lunch with the Attorney General of the state of Nevada. And he shared with us there are 4 planks to criminal justice: apprehension, prosecution, and then if you are able to, when they get out of jail, rehabilitation. He said the 3rd plank we've never done. It's called restorative justice. And we heard stories about how it was being implemented in Washington, D.C. in the Attorney General's office there, and how successful it was. And so I call this low-hanging fruit in a compassionate community. Why not us? Why not now, given everything that's happened? And restorative justice is really implementing compassion in the criminal justice system. It's not just about keeping offenders out of jail. It's about creating a quality of compassion throughout the culture of the criminal justice system, from the police department to the DA to all the different system partners. So we are in a place now which is really exciting. The Attorney General has leaned in. The State Assembly Speaker has leaned in, City Council, City County Commission, a variety of different partners in the system have leaned in and said, absolutely, we're going to do this. And so we're in the process of beginning training facilitators who will work with the criminal justice system to see if we can't create an agreement. And the beauty of an agreement is it never even hits the DA's office. It's just an agreement between the offender and the victim and the people involved, the families involved, to create an opportunity for truth and reconciliation. So in South Africa, Desmond Tutu said, this is what it's all about, truth and reconciliation. So in Africa, they have the term Ubuntu, which is I am because we are because I am. And that basically in every tribal society there brings restorative justice whenever there's some kind of acting out. So we've got to catch up. We are part of a system which has a warrior culture that has been admitted to by the captains in Metro Police Department, and they would like to see it change. And we would all like to see it change. I had a nephew who was cordoned off and beat severely and charged with a felony, holding a deadly weapon, which was one of the batons they were using to beat him with. So I've been, since George Floyd and prior, been acutely aware of the need for bringing compassion into the criminal justice system. And with my brother Troy and with you, Will, and so many other partners, we are going to do it. We shall make it happen.
Absolutely. And the cool thing is we are doing it. What is really hitting me as we're having this amazing conversation is we've come a long way. And it really hasn't been seamless. It hasn't been without shortcomings, but we've made so much progress. What would you say to those who want to take this on in their own cities, who want to be involved with the justice system? Because we do need that balance. We need to have justice and law enforcement and really police officers that are peace officers. And so what would you say to engage folks who may be interested in trying this out?
And again, you don't need to be an attorney. You just need to be aware of those people within the system, whether that's the DA's office or the Attorney General's office or Metropolitan Police, who are interested in compassion, and begin a conversation, begin a relationship, as Troy said. And that relationship will immediately bear fruit, because I think in this moment in time, historically, we're seeing a major shift in consciousness. And that shift is toward the realization that compassion is actually more important in criminal justice than any of the other elements. And if we have compassion, then we have a system that actually works better for all the parties involved. And that's what we call the golden rule, a win-win opportunity. So that's what we're promoting in Compassionate Las Vegas, and we encourage it in all of the other potential compassionate communities around the planet. And we wish you all well.
Thank you both for joining us for this segment, and looking forward to what is yet to come.
Thank you, Will.
Kathy, your role with the city addresses homelessness directly, and your sphere of influence is actually pretty wide because you've got a lot of different projects. What makes Las Vegas so unique for addressing the issue of homelessness?
Las Vegas is unique in that we do a lot of things that you don't see municipalities taking the lead. And we do this because there are gaps in our service delivery system. And we will often step in and then partner to bring others together to sustain that work. For example, we had and still have an issue with people who are homeless going to the hospital, getting their urgent needs met, and then they are discharged back to the street to recuperate. We did not have any place for folks to go heal. You or I would go home and rest and heal and recuperate. If you have no home but the street, you have to go back to the street. So the city created the Recuperative Care Center to step into the gap so that people experiencing homelessness could recover in a place that was safe and clean and restorative.
It's that collaboration piece that I think a lot of people don't necessarily know about our city, that we really do work together to find solutions to major issues. And our government structure is a bit unique from some other places where the city has jurisdiction in certain areas, where the county also has jurisdiction in what cities would typically do. So it creates a really unique opportunity to get a lot of perspectives on issues that wouldn't otherwise have that. And you brought up restoration and healing, which is certainly a theme of compassion and a purpose of compassion. Christina, with your work at St. Jude's, That's healing at the core. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Well, St. Jude's Ranch for Children has been serving Southern Nevada for about 55 years now. And I'm really proud that, our mission is deep and our core values are a long list, but I can distill it down to 2 words, is to provide for Southern Nevada's most abused and neglected children and young people, as well as homeless young people or transition age youth. Our goal is to increase hope and to support it with healing. And the hope that we're talking about is hope in action, right? It's not this passive hope like, I sure hope life gets better for children. But really, hope in action is about breaking cycles. It's about letting young people know with compassion that they have choices, that children and young people that come from challenging life experiences have choices to break this cycle. And it takes courage to say enough. I'm going to be the young person to graduate from high school or the young person to get off the streets. It takes courage to be open to healing, because we know that homelessness in and of itself is a very dangerous situation, right? Our streets across the United States are no different than the streets in Las Vegas. Living, in homelessness means there's a high exposure to violence and to crime and to a lot of things that are just not good for humans. And so, that healing component of helping young people realize that what's happened to them is not their fault and that there are options. And I believe that's the root of compassion, right? Is putting the humanness back into human services.
Now, the 2 of you here together is also fairly unique because St. Jude's Ranch for Children isn't actually located in the city of Las Vegas. It's a smaller city outside Boulder City. So for you 2 to be together, I think also speaks volumes to what is happening with Compassionate Las Vegas. And even though we're compassionate in Las Vegas, we're really compassionate, period. And so the whole of Southern Nevada is included. But even with this time together with these conversations, we're touching the entire world. And there's a saying, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. But I don't know that that's true.
Christine and I have the privilege of being alums from the inaugural class of the Jamison Fellowship. And we were both kind of working, we knew of each other, but had not had the opportunity to work together. And so the fellowship is, I think, where we made the lifelong professional connection, which means it works.
Yeah.
This opportunity to talk about homelessness sort of evolved out of what we both already do.
From a public policy place or a local government or a nonprofit leader to say we're heart-centered sounds a little bit touchy-feely, but showing up from a place of compassion to serve others is what binds us, right? As that term, together we rise, right? That we can do so much more when we come together. And so, yeah, may Las Vegas be a beacon of hope for so many people that are looking for a pathway out of such traumatic, chaotic times that we're all facing. One of the things that I love about the synergy is we kind of identified 3 Ps of our work. We care about the people. And so individuals experiencing homelessness have to be at the root of our focus. We have to be identifying solutions that they need, that they're asking for, not that we think they need, but rather really talking to the people. We need to think about our programs, right? So we've got people, we need programs that get reinvented because we cannot keep offering the same solution and hoping for a different outcome. We've got to evolve our programs. And then the last P is around policy, right? There is a role for policy. And so when we think about people, programs, and policy, I think we can make tremendous advances for the betterment of our community and really elevate compassion for everybody in need. I certainly feel grateful to live a life of compassion.
Well said. Very well said. Well, thank you both so much for this amazing conversation and just the work that you're doing to address homelessness. No, we're not there yet, but we are moving forward, which is what matters. And each of you is creating a movement of compassion, not just within your organizations, within the city, but within this world. Your ripple of compassion is literally changing the globe. So thank you so much. Thank you for your time. And for those that haven't seen the podcast episodes, check them out on our podcast. They have a great, great insight there. Now, let's take a look at what we've been talking about.
So Las Vegas has its dark side, as any city does. Behind those images, there is a very compassionate heart.
Life on the street can be brutal. And so if you're always in survival mode, we offer a place of safety and a place of respite where people can come, be safe, decompress, and then start moving towards their next steps.
Really, when I think of our corridor of hope, I think of outstretched arms ready to embrace.
Across town, a volunteer-driven medical clinic heals the uninsured, while a food bank feeds the hungry.
I used to be part of that vulnerable population that we serve. I went without health care. I was homeless for a long time. Compassion heals. Compassion empowers. Compassion changes lives. I'm a direct result of that.
The city has also struck an innovative partnership between police and pastors to reduce violent crime.
After a violent event, say a homicide or a shooting, we will call our faith-based partners. They will come out and respond as a kind of a conduit to us to really preach no retaliation, provide aid and comfort to the family.
The first year that we started this model, we saw a 40% reduction in murders and a 56% reduction in shootings. Compassion is truly the key component to save lives, bring down gang violence, and the suffering that's in our inner city.
Dr. Malish, in your role, you have so many responsibilities and you get to see so many different facets of what is happening within our city. Could you share a little bit about how you are working in the education system?
Absolutely. So I have the luxury in my position of overseeing kind of two prongs of our work here at the city. One is all of the education initiatives. The other is our social justice initiatives. Within social justice, where it kind of spills over into education, I have the privilege of serving as the co-chair of the Las Vegas My Brother's Keeper Alliance. I co-chair the Educational Equity Task Force. And within that task force, we're really focused on improved outcomes, specifically for boys and young men of color, but for all marginalized populations. We work really hard to ensure that systems that are negative do not grab our kiddos and hold on to them, because we know what that looks like if we do not prevent it. And so we work with the Clark County School District, with the Department of Juvenile Justice Services, and many community partners and agencies to provide a landscape where all kids have equal footing and equal opportunities. Because we know that incarceration does not change behavior. If it did, then prisons would eventually be empty, because that behavior would all be corrected. We know that recidivism rates are very high, especially for Latinx and African American young men. And so how do we change that and do something more positive? So our restorative justice work is really centered on that. Some people think restorative justice is about letting people go or not holding people accountable. It actually holds people more accountable than systems that are less tolerant and more punitive in nature. It's a community-wide effort. It is not the school district's job alone. It is an effort that takes all of us.
With what you're sharing, what I'm really pulling out of that is you take the whole system and infuse compassion into it, where you're doing healing work, where you are doing the transformation of character and helping people with those inter and intrapersonal skills. And so I think that is absolutely remarkable. What would you say makes Las Vegas unique in the fact that this is happening here?
So first of all, I think for those of us that live here, and for me as a native born and raised here, It's not odd
Wow.
to me. We are a service-oriented industry. That's a lot of our tax base here is travel and tourism. We saw that during COVID. We were hit among the hardest states hit by the COVID shutdowns because of the way we earn our tax base. And so given that we largely operate in a travel and tourism space, those customer service skills, those soft skills, that character development, I am not suggesting that it is not important in every single community internationally. However, in a community that really is funded largely on serving others, it becomes even more important because sometimes when we serve others, they're not always kind. So I think compassion is a really important asset and character trait for us in Las Vegas, unique to us as a city.
With the pandemic placing things like mental health at the forefront, and at a time when so many safety nets are exacerbated, and we are asking ourselves, how do we help while supporting people to hold on to their dignity and recognizing the humanity in others, the ways in which we have embraced compassion as a thread of our work, I think is really unprecedented. Whether it's the ways in which we've attempted to center equity in the work, or thinking about the ways in which certain communities are disproportionately impacted by some of the social issues we're grappling with. The discussion around compassion couldn't have came at a better time. And unlike so many of our social systems that couldn't have foreseen the fallout that we've seen from the pandemic, because there was work that began many years ago under the Jamison Fellows, where the focus at the time was working together across organizations and systems as leaders to really buy in a true North Star that had compassion at the center. I would say as a result that we were well poised in ways that we wouldn't have been.
Everyone watching, like we're here because we believe in compassion and we believe in unity and common humanity. But it's so refreshing to just hear it, especially from someone in quote unquote Sin City. So I've been here now 7 years, and every day it's a new day. And I'm so excited to wake up in Las Vegas. So I know those watching, many of them have visited and spent time in our city, but of course they haven't seen that community part necessarily, and they may not be aware of all that you've shared. I'm so glad you brought in the fellowship again, Dr. Tyler Garner, and also that systems piece, and just, I mean, everything you just said, it ties together so much of what we're discussing, not just in our session, but this entire event and series.
There have now been many cohorts of Jamison Fellows. So the opportunity to partner with such a diverse group representing so many segments of our community around steering compassion in our community. Oh, it was exciting. It was really exciting. And so as much as I am sometimes troubled by what we are seeing as a result of the pandemic, I'm also encouraged because now more than ever, folks are recognizing the need to practice compassionate practice, whether it's self-care or recognizing that the intersectionality between things like housing instability or food insecurity and education, that we can't divorce those things. This is a great time to be partnering with other leaders to lead compassionate approaches to addressing our social issues.
I couldn't agree more. And thank you for bringing that loop again, where everything truly is so connected. We've talked to each sector kind of separately, but everything really touches everything else. And you can't, as you said, divorce one from the other. For someone watching who wants to do this, what would you say to them? Talk right to that person.
Whatever your role is, there is a place for you in this work. Whether it's the ways in which you can model compassion through your daily interactions in your home or your community, or the ways in which you can partner with others to ensure that our systems are compassionate systems, there is a place for you to get engaged. and see real change happen for all of us, particularly as we consider the fact that our children truly are our future.
I mean, you've given us so much, and thank you for just the depth of information. In all of my years, I don't know that I've met anyone that hasn't experienced trauma or isn't experiencing trauma. And of course, we all respond differently. But for me, the healing factor for trauma is compassion. So, Sierra.
I think two things came to my mind. One would, especially for the teens, is the passing of Senate Bill 249. Our teens heard of Haley Hardcastle in Oregon. She led the charge there to get mental health days added as an excused absence in schools. And so when our teens heard her TED Talk, they just thought it was an amazing cause. So they worked with a state senator here to get that passed. So now students in the state, mental health days will be part of an excused absence. And then also mental health crisis numbers will be on the back of all student ID cards. So that was a huge win. And then also just on a more macro scale, it's really cool to me to see the conversations we're having with our teens kind of echoed in the national and international stage with so many sports figures coming out and different celebrities or anything coming out and talking about mental health, and then seeing it more on a micro stage with just the teens that we're connecting with. It's just amazing to see that conversation play out through all levels of society.
Absolutely. And that is, I mean, amazing to have that change happen in our school system. And you two, which I had not said yet, but we just kind of dived into the conversation, but you lead our pillar or sector on mental health. And that was one of the first ones we identified as being critical for supporting every other area of focus. What is it like working together on such an important part of compassion at Las Vegas?
One of the silver linings to being alive at this time is we no longer have to explain why this matters, how we're all interconnected. And so I think really for me, it's been just every day showing up and doing what I can where I'm at. And, from 1 October on, trying to beat this drum to help our community and I don't even know how to, and I still probably don't, I'm learning along the way, but, just showing up wherever I can and doing what I can and then what's really cool is then it's like a ripple effect, because then people in our state or different people who have experienced different pieces, they're like, hey, there's this funding opportunity. So it's been really, there's been some serendipity involved. I feel like just kind of watching this all start to take shape. And I think it's just time. It's time. What we did before didn't work. Let's try something else.
Well, I would recommend having Dr. Annie Weissman be their partner because she's amazing. She's leading the way, and she's met with our teens before on our teen committees, and she just is the guru to me for all things wellness and all that. So that would be my advice, but unfortunately I don't think there's 10 or 15 or 100 of her. So I don't know what else.
Oh man, Sarah, right back at you. And we were so lucky because the teens that rose up here and helped bring so much of this to life that I've been able to do workshops with, and I feel like you can do it. It just takes a heart, like a heart that cares. And now that we live in the Zoom space primarily, for me, it feels easier because it's like, oh, I can just jump on and do this. It's not travel. So I think, yeah, it's time. And we'll share anything we've done with whoever wants to do it. Let's help lift each other up.
Yeah, and I will say that everyone that I've talked to about mental health, and I'm sure Annie can echo this, anytime I tell them what we're working on, they've personally known somebody that struggled with it, or they themselves struggle with it. So it's not hard for them to recognize the importance of it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, CMBM, I think, is an extraordinary win.
Thank you. Yes. We've trained over 100 people in the state. And
Wow.
so,
Just for those that don't know what CMBM is, could you just share high level 30 seconds?
sure. The Center for Mind Body Medicine is an organization that I became involved with right after the 1 October shooting, and they do global trauma work. So teaching people really simple skills to regulate the nervous system, to kind of come back into balance and to connect with themselves and each other.
And that's what we're really trying to accomplish. That to me is the heart of compassion. It's helping people be in balance with themselves, with each other, with the world in which we exist. All of that is critical. How do environmentalism, and correct me on my terminology here, but how does that interact with compassion?
I think it's an excellent question. And to my mind, the idea of environmentalism and engaging with and caring for our environment is really at the heart of compassion in so many ways. I recall even when I was a little girl, my parents talking to me about the environment. Both of them were very connected to it. This idea that our personal experience of it, other personal experience of it, creatures that we may see every day or that we may not see every day, understanding that this planet really is a full system and that it's delicate in so many ways, although it can be strong in so many ways, and it's so interrelated. And this sense of compassion and empathy and understanding that something that we may do that might impact the forests, the oceans, the mountains, the deserts, whether or not we even see those places matters. And I've had people talk about the environment and climate change as being more, instead of a climate crisis, an empathy crisis, because of the fact that really what it is having that empathy for the humans, the wildlife that are being displaced right now because of climate change and because of things that we're doing to the environment.
Here in Las Vegas, we exist within really a bowl that is a desert. Could you share a bit about your organization and what it means to be environmentally conscious in Las Vegas?
I'd be happy to. My organization is the Nature Conservancy, and our organization is interesting in that it is based locally here in Nevada with our Nevada chapter. It's actually a part of a very large network, and I think that is almost a metaphor for all of us. So the Nature Conservancy is in 72 different countries, and it's all around the United States, and it's present in every state and in Canada. Here in Nevada, we've actually been here now for 37 years. And part of why we're here is that Nevada is one of the most biodiverse states in the nation. Many are unaware of the fact that we have over 300 mountain ranges. For the over 300 mountain ranges, we actually have over 300 endemic species. These are species that exist nowhere else but in Nevada. We're the 11th most biodiverse state in the nation, which I think is just mind-boggling and incredible. And so many people don't realize that for all the unique and funky things that make Nevada special, that is something that is truly incredible, that we stand at that level of having over 300 species that exist nowhere else but in our state.
Wow, that is fascinating. And I did not realize that was the case. Wow. So go ahead.
I was just going to say, and I think, and amidst all that, we're a vibrant and very growing community. Our state has grown to over 3 million people, and here in Southern Nevada, we have experienced just incredible growth. And this is poised in that space of a little bit of tension, where we have incredible growth amidst a lack of resources. Here in Las Vegas and in Southern Nevada, we've actually been very proactive in addressing our water shortages. We've taken steps to cut back on turf, which is a massive user of water, and we're actually taking even more steps to cut back on turf. folks have been very good about reusing water, and even our gaming industry, which I think is often very maligned, uses gray water, which is water that has previously been used for things like the famous fountains. So our state has been very aggressive and very much, I think, a leader on the Colorado River, even though we are technically one of the smaller users.
Thank you for bringing that loop again, where everything truly is so connected. We've talked to each sector kind of separately, but everything really touches everything else, and you can't divorce one from the other. Krista, thank you for joining us for this amazing program and for sharing about the Jamison Fellowship. Several people have shared already about their experience and how the Jamison Fellowship is transforming the Las Vegas area. Just give us a high-level overview of what that program is.
We lead with compassion. We build trust and authentic relationships. And I was among the first cohort almost 10 years ago in this fellowship, and it's evolved over these 10 years. And as we've evolved the fellowship, we've grown to be much more intentional, fostering collaboration amongst the various social sectors to influence compassion and unity, and enhancing those leadership skills to really construct impactful change.
What makes Las Vegas unique, and what made it possible for this to thrive for so long?
Well, our team has really realized we are young, we are ripe for education, and we've established ourselves as really understanding that we need to educate our community. We have a lot to learn and a lot of opportunity for growth. So we've identified that we're a true educator, a training platform where we are intentionally bringing these leaders together to motivate, inspire, encourage them to build circles of trust. And as you talk about, compassion is also cultivating self-awareness, that self-compassion, and introducing resilience practices to the program. It's really important. In addition to us providing those workshop platforms, we also are providing our fellows the opportunity for annual grant funding to encourage that collective impact, bringing those community leaders and the organizations together. Those are great opportunities to learn how to partner. We're also having additional educational and transformational programming that is just really impactful to grow our leaders, and also very rich coaching that you will have introduced into this program that really bring the individual, the organizations, the sectors, and the system all together to really understand what it takes to operate.
For someone that may want to take this model into their city, bring their leaders together for such an amazing training, what should they look to do? How do they get that started?
Having conversations with those partners in your community that can cast a net and be open and objective, because this is something very new for communities to understand and embrace. Compassion is not everyone understands what compassion is all about. And so finding those partners to help foster and grow that opportunity to bring those that are open to those experiences would be just some whispering conversations, as our founders like to share.
Having a great vision is so important, but bringing that vision to life takes a team. And so I think that's exactly what I'm hearing you share with us, and I'm blessed to be a part of as well. If you had to describe what you got out of your year in the fellowship in one or two words, what would you say?
A curiosity for more learning and understanding. Being part of that first cohort, we didn't know what we were walking into and what it would be like to come together. And it is so exciting to see it moving into its 10th year and just how much it's blossomed since I've started with the Jamison Fellowship.
Just want to thank you for your leadership within the fellowship and Compassionate Las Vegas at large. The organization is so much better because you're a part of it. And we are just getting started. So thank you for joining us for this event, which is amazing. Can you believe we have this platform and people are listening to our story?
It is really special, and I cannot thank all of our community leaders that are joining us in this conversation for this very special hour of what the Las Vegas community is doing, where we're growing, and I'm really excited to see the rest.
Me too. Is there anything else you want to tell to the audience or just share?
I am blessed to be working alongside you as part of the team, our founder, Moonridge Foundation. I mean, we are really the conveners of fostering culture of compassionate caring, and we are just so excited with where we can move this community. And I am blessed with our team.
Beautiful. I think we can leave it there.
The golden rule connects all of us, and here in Las Vegas, we are all about it. Las Vegas is known for electric entertainment, romantic weddings, and world-class resorts. Millions of people visit our city each year from all over the world for entertainment. But it's the Vegas hospitality, our compassion in action, that keeps them coming back. The dazzling lights of the Strip literally makes Vegas the brightest of all cities in the world. Yet it's the light of compassion that makes us Vegas strong. As Karen Armstrong has made so clear, the golden rule, compassion, is not an option. It's the key to our survival. And Las Vegas shines in the best and worst of times because we are marching towards compassion. The golden rule is our DNA. Whether it is the Jamison Fellowship, which fosters collaboration amongst the various social sectors to influence unity and enhance leadership skills that construct impactful change, or Compassionate Las Vegas, the podcast, which shares stories of individuals and organizations who are making a difference in the world and addresses uncomfortable subjects. There's also the annual Compassionate Las Vegas grant, which awards $10,000 to a community initiative that places compassion and collaboration at the center of its work. The golden rule is the spirit of our people, like Willie, a 62-year-old man currently experiencing homelessness who spends his days in front of the Marriage Bureau, helping visitors find parking and making sure they know how to pay for it. It's the hundreds of people who donated much-needed resources in the days following the 1 October shooting. It's the Resiliency Center, Volunteers in Medicine, 3 Square, the Cupcake Girls, and others. It's each and every person, seen and unseen, who makes the Vegas experience the world knows and loves possible. Here in Las Vegas, we are all about connection. And yes, it's the golden rule that connects all of us.
So shout out to you, my friend Will, for putting that together. Thank you so much. I hope that this provides our listening audience with an appreciation of what we're doing here in Las Vegas, and it's growing. More things are coming.
Thank you so much. So I think now we have time for questions, unless I'm missing something. Are we ready for questions? Okay, good. I did notice, and it's because we were talking about this right before we went live, that a question came up in the chat box about mentoring programs. And Gard, you mentioned dads on duty and moms with a mission. Could you speak a little more about that? And before you do, I just want to remind everybody that's attending that we're monitoring the questions in the chat box. So if you have anything you want to ask our team here, please pop that in chat.
Yeah, so as we've all said, we're sort of building this airplane as we fly it. And what's exciting is there's only a few weeks ago that Dads on Duty from Shreveport, Louisiana was featured by Nora O'Donnell on CBS and Steve Hartman. And immediately, one of our connectors, Troy Martinez, who you saw in the video, reached out to me and said, Gard, this is a no-brainer. And so one of the founders was actually a relative of our Attorney General, Aaron Ford. And so coincidences everywhere, serendipity, right, Polly? And so we got together actually yesterday morning, and we met with department sheriffs from different cities and the superintendent of schools and his second in command. And he said, I've got 3 high schools right now. I need this program now. And so the dads go onto campus, they greet the kids as they come on. The dads are there in the cafeteria at luncheon. They're there at the end of the day to say goodbye to the kids. And there's a presence there in the school by these dads. And it's really incredibly exciting to see. And I asked the question of the dads on duty. I said, what about the moms? I know the look from the dad is pretty intense, but the look from the mom could be more intense. And they said, well, yes, there's another organization emerging called Moms with a Mission. And this is what I talk about when I say low-hanging fruit. There are opportunities here. And so we're already mobilizing volunteers to address those 3 high schools and 2 middle schools that the superintendent. So we're excited about this. And again, it just sort of, as Will said, it blossoms. And it is the answer right now to a way forward.
Thank you so much. I see that Sarah from York Region is commenting in the chat about how this is going to be really helpful for her team. And they're actually a newer initiative. Sorry, I have a crying baby in the background. And I just wanted to touch on the fact that I sort of said this in the beginning. It's one of the things I love most about this community's webinar series is that even though no 2 communities are in the exact same place, the work that you're doing is so helpful to other communities and that we can all learn from each other. So I just want to echo Sarah's gratitude for your presentation and the insight that you're offering other compassionate communities.
Yes, and Sarah is a dear sister. We just finished a program called Pro-Social Spirituality together. We were in the same cohort. And what we're observing is that there's a global initiative emerging here. It's coming from a lot of different directions, but what's fascinating is how they're all beginning to connect. And they are connecting. And so again, there's, I believe, 2, actually 3 dimensions to this work. The first dimension is to connect ourselves with a source of wisdom, however we name that source. And that's the vertical dimension. And then there's a horizontal dimension, which is the moral dimension of how do we then take this out into the world to address homelessness, mental health, education, social justice, and climate change, and all the issues that affect us. And what I want to say is we're kind of like the pioneers coming across the plains right now. This is a very kind of new moment. But what we're doing for that baby of yours, dear Mimi, who was crying. What we're doing is for Polly's new child who's 7 months, or how many months, Polly? 7 months already? Goes by quick, but we're doing it for, as the indigenous people say, the 7th generation. And we're sowing the seeds now. I certainly won't see the fruits of this. I'm seeing the fruits in our community, but I won't see globally the fruits, but those grandchildren and those children will see those fruits. And so carpe diem, may we all have courage and a quality of wisdom and a quality of compassion as we move forward with each new day.
Thank you so much, Gard. There are a lot of comments here. I'll save the chat too so that you can all see it. And I want to invite everyone here and anyone watching after the fact, if you have questions, you'll get my email, and so you can just respond to me and I will field it to the Las Vegas team. They're always available and very willing to help. So just let me know, Mimi at charterforcompassion.org, if you have any messages you want to send on. Las Vegas team, do you have anything you want to say before I close us out?
Well, I want to ask my other team members, do you have a do you have a wish? We're coming on the Hanukkah Christmas season. Is there a dream that you have that you would like to see emerge from this work that we're doing here locally as well as globally? So I'll start with Krista.
I just hope our compassionate work is contagious and that we continue to work with others to bring more kindness. And I have to confess that there is not one of our calls that I don't shed a tear. So I've been, Guard, you made me shed some tears here.
Beautiful.
Of joy.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's it. Tears of joy. Will?
Yeah, joy is definitely the spirit of the season for me. I've already started decorating my house, and I love this time of year because it's when people choose to focus on goodness. And that's my wish. That's my desire, is that we all choose to live as one. When I refer to others, in my head, I'm thinking my other self, because I really believe we are truly connected, not just as an intellectual or spiritual idea, but the greater reality is we are all connected and are all one. And that's inclusive of our environment and our planet. So joy fills my heart with this moment. I, of course, conducted the interviews we just watched. And for those that don't know, like, they were not 2 minutes apiece. They were 10 and 15 minutes. We just compiled it to make it fit this time frame. But I'm still in awe every time I get to see this, at how amazing humans are. We hear so much in the media about our differences and our challenges and the things that we aren't doing well, but we do so many things so well, and so many things are so right, that it just fills me with joy and with hope for our future. And Guard, you mentioned you're seeing some of the fruits now, but you won't see the fullness of this. I'm a little younger, and I too won't see the fullness. And Indy, Polly's 7-month-old, won't see the fullness, because we're just on this trajectory where it gets better and better and better over time. And I work in public health as my primary occupation. And my goal in that is really to elevate the public consciousness to improve public health. And that's what compassion does. It improves our health, and not just of our physical bodies, but of our souls. And so if I have to nail down one wish for this season, is that we just take in and appreciate this moment, the present. This is a present for us, and we really need to acknowledge the goodness that already is.
Wow. Thank you, Will. Taliba, it's going to be hard to top that one, but go try.
Yes, Will has such a way with words. It's always so difficult to follow up on that. But being a part of like this absolutely amazing group and having these wonderful conversations, it makes me really motivated towards working towards compassion and making it more contagious, as Krista said, for the youth, for the younger generations. I am a little bit younger than some of you on the call, but just this next generation coming up, just making it more important for them and making them, seeing them do more compassionate actions and standing up for compassion. I think that would be my biggest wish.
Beautiful, Taliba. And compassion's right there at the heart of the Islamic narrative, isn't it? Every single chapter begins with the compassionate one, right?
Yes, it is. And one thing I'll share that the kids have been doing, and what Polly shared during our Day of Kindness and the Be Kind campaign with Lady Gaga, is we made compassion packs. So every week I have a couple of young students in the Islamic community, and they come over and they get as much things as they can for $20. And we make as many compassionate packs to give out to individuals in the West Las Vegas community that are experiencing a lot of hardship at this time, especially as we go into the winter months.
Beautiful. And my dear sister Polly, so my other sister Sarah just said that her 13-year-old said, "Mama, you are making compassion fashion." And you're our branding, you're our marketing, and those images behind you, that you created all this. So fashionista, speak to us.
I think that my wish would be, and this really echoes a lot of the sentiments already shared, but that this is just the beginning, that, we've barely scratched the surface of what we can do in our community. And, it's a snowball effect. And the more we spread the message, the more people hear the message, the more they spread the message. And as was said, that this is just the beginning, that the fruition of this is many generations away, and that we've just kind of started this movement in our valley. That would be my wish. And that sort of encompasses what Krista is saying about it being contagious, and we've seen that in our community. And so it is an honor always to be with this group, to be part of this team, to be part of this movement here in the Valley, and to be always looking out for the compassion and action that's going on around us and sharing it with others. So, and I noticed in the chat also someone, spreading love and gratitude and thanks to GARD as our fearless leader, as the person who brought this movement to our feet and helps us to spread these messages and spread the goal of compassion in our community. We could not do this without you, GARD. We would not be here without you. We thank you, we thank you, we thank you for inspiring us and helping us help our community. We couldn't do this without you. So I want to echo that sentiment that was shared in the chat.
And that's our dear friend Ole, who is chatting to us from across the great pond of the Atlantic and living in Sweden. And again, just indicative that this is a global movement. And so I want to end with my sister Mimi. So
GARD, before we end, I've got to interject this.
Oh yeah.
And it's about you. So, I thank you for bringing that up, because you deserve as many flowers as we can share, because you are truly a gift to our community and to this charter. I'll share a quick story about my first moment of really recognizing who you are. So we worked together with the Interfaith Council, and I believe it was our annual retreat that you so graciously host at your home in Boulder City. And to give everyone watching an idea of geography, Boulder City is about an hour from where I live. I'm at the top of the valley. Boulder City is like way at the bottom. And I showed up at your house on the wrong day for this meeting. So I'm expecting, when I saw your house, I was like, I don't know if I'm at the right place. But I still knocked on the door, and there you were. And you graciously invited me in. We had a great conversation. You made tea for me. And it wasn't like, oh, you're here on the wrong day, I'm busy. Even though you are an incredibly busy individual, you took the time to just sit and talk. And I really appreciate that. And for me, that's compassion in action. And that's the essence of who you are, which is someone that takes the time to simply care for an individual. You have such a wide-ranging impact, but yet you still take time for the one. And I just want to thank you for taking time for me and for the countless other ones in our community. So thank you for your work and your effort and the legacy that you are creating.
Thank you, Will. Thank you. You're so kind. And so my dear sister Mimi, who gets the privilege of working with Marilyn and Susan and so many other wonderful personalities at the Charter's office. So Mimi, with that young one, what is your dream in this holiday season of gratitude?
Well, I should have expected that you were going to put me on the spot, given that we went through everyone.
Except you.
Right. I think I echo Will's dream of joy. I think that we could all use that. And I don't have a lot to say about that. I don't think that maybe joy needs a whole lot of words. It's something that is really felt rather than described. And I am hopeful that the world can feel some joy this season.
Yes, that's a great note to end on. And there's a wonderful fellow, Teilhard de Chardin, who is a paleontologist and a Catholic priest. And he got in a lot of trouble with the Catholic tradition because he believed in evolution and things like that. But he said that joy is the infallible sign of compassion. And so maybe on that note, we can close.
Well, I'm not going to let you close me.
Oh, okay.
Because actually it ties in. I'm going to drop a link right here. For the sake of joy, I want to invite everyone. Gard and I are sort of showcasing the event coming up this weekend. The Charter for Compassion is holding our global gala on Saturday, November 20th, and we'll have 2 showings at 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. Pacific time. So if you are in the mood for joy, this is where you want to be. It's the Charter's main fundraiser, but it's also really an opportunity for us to recognize and honor all of the incredible, compassionate work that's being done in the world. Like Will said, you hear in the media some of the negative things, but this is another opportunity to see the amazingness of humankind. And so I really encourage you. If you can't make the gala at either of those times, but you buy a ticket, you will receive a recording, and it's worth your while. We are actually taking the month of December off from these community webinars, but we'll be back in the new year. So stay tuned for that. And just thank you again, Las Vegas. This was inspiring and motivating, but mostly it was just really heartwarming. And I really appreciate the time that you took to share your community with all of us.
Our joy.
Thank you.